Hello and welcome to, I guess, what we're calling No One November, even though it's November 15th, so November's basically already over. But you know what? It's never too late to celebrate the work of a legend. It's Mitchell Lee, it's Tommy Grant, it's Brandon 2, it's Press Play Action on Jersey Nerds Productions, and Christopher Nolan, to me, I think the perfect way to summarize this is yesterday. We were supposed to record this yesterday, but I had to go to a Justin Timberlake concert.
Because
And
that's where our priorities lie.
that's oh hell yes, hell yes.
Absolutely.
And I think that there is a holy trinity of sorts for me. There's the New York Jets, and of course they let me down every chance they get. And then there's Justin Timberlake, and then there's Christopher Nolan. And Christopher Nolan is by far the most reliable of those three, 100%.
See, here's what I'm seeing in my head right now. You have Mitchell. You have Christopher Nolan as God up above with the light shining. Everything's peaceful.
Right. Yeah.
You have the devil
He's
and
the
the
father.
angel
Yeah. He's the
on
father.
Mitchell's shoulder. The devil is the Jets because it always makes Mitchell angry. And on the other shoulder, you have the angel that just
That
makes
is
you happy, and that's Justin
Sweet,
Timberlake.
sweet Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
Did I nail that one?
You know, I didn't really think of it that way.
The Father, the
but
Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where are we going with this? That is great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know
So
what?
Nolan
That's more than
Nolan's
fair.
definitely the father because for him to
Nolan's
be
the
Holy
father and
Spirit,
Justin Timberlake is daddy. So that's what I'll say.
There you go. Fair enough.
I hope your fiance is okay with that.
Oh, 100%. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, that's a given. But we're here to talk about Christopher Nolan today, and this is my personal favorite director. And I know some people might think that's a little bit basic, or hey, he doesn't have quite the body of
basic.
work to be able to say that. But you know what? I'm not going to run away from having a basic take at all. Again, I said that my favorite musical artist was Justin Timberlake. It's not like I'm exactly looking underground, but I do that a little bit more with movies than I do with music. And still, Christopher Nolan just seems to always scratch the itches that I need scratched. And so we're gonna start off with The Prestige and Inception. Now, Tommy, you. This, apart from our horror, 31 Days of Horror that we just wrapped up, this is kind of, I don't want to say your first go around talking movies because we did the horror stuff, but apart from that, this is your first time joining Brandon and I.
This is my first time joining the real men about movies because horror movies are nothing to rave about. We're really deep diving.
Oh no, we talked about some really good horror movies. We talked about some trash too.
Nothing on the level of The Prestige and Inception.
Hey man, we talked about a Kubrick movie, so I will, but I do hold Nolan in a different respect than everyone else, including Kubrick, which might sound blasphemous to say for some people. I love Kubrick, but Nolan's kind of the one that made me love movies. So, and I'll get into that more with Inception, but we'll start off with The Prestige, which, Tommy, Brandon, is this your first time seeing this?
Oh yeah.
Oh, so
we had to rent it on Amazon Prime. Shout out Amazon.
That surprises me that this is your first.
Yeah,
time.
Same here.
Yeah, no, I'd heard about it obviously, but never got around to seeing it.
I had seen a few clips of this before, a very long time ago. One of those movies where when you're sick and you can't fall asleep and it's like 2 a.m. and you're flipping through the channels. Back in the day when you had to actually flip through fucking channels. This was definitely a movie that, I think I had seen like bits and pieces of, but I had no memory of it. But this was a phenomenal movie, and I really, really enjoyed it, and this will definitely be a rewatch for me.
All right, Tommy getting a little excited to talk about the opinion of the movie. We wait on that just a second. I just need to go through some background stuff, Tommy.
I know.
Just need to go through some background
stuff. I was very happy with it.
Directed by Christopher Nolan, obviously, starring Hugh Jackman, Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Scarlett Johansson, Rebecca Hall. David Bowie's in this movie playing
That movie for a fucking loop.
Yeah, playing Nikola Tesla. Definitely didn't expect that.
He played a good Tesla too, if I do say so myself.
And this movie came out in October of 2006.
Take a step back there. So you're doing a complete injustice to the great Andy Serkis.
Andy Serkis doesn't really have a major role in this movie. He's in it for...
He's an actor worth
Sure. Yeah, no, I do like Andy Serkis.
It's a good D plot line inside of getting a good actor to play like the D plot, which is I would consider Andy Serkis' character in like the DC plot level of.
I mean, this is Andy Serkis fresh off Lord of the Rings. So
that's true.
It is starting to peak.
Now I will be impressed. This movie came out October 20th, 2006. What movie did it take off the top of the box office charts that week? Don't look it up. Don't cheat. What movie did... Oh, nope, never mind. Even I was wrong about that. It took...
How are you wrong about your own question?
Well, because I looked at what was number 2, and what was number 2 wasn't number 1 the week before. It was number 2. So...
All right.
Well, what was around it? Like, what was playing in theaters?
Okay.
Harry Potter.
That's your guess for everything.
Yes, because
it's a good guess. It is a good guess, unless it's Lord of the Rings, which is really fun.
There was no Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings movie in 2006, so you're both wrong.
Yeah.
Spider-Man?
No Spider-Man movie in 2006.
Okay.
October.
Yeah, it's October. No Spider-Man movies coming out in October.
Yeah,
unless it's Venom.
I'm taking guesses here.
Unless it's
Venom.
Venom.
I got nothing, Mitchell.
Yeah, go ahead.
The number 2 movie for that week is really what I was going for, was The Departed. So you could have had one hell of a double feature with The Departed
that might have
and The
been one of the best double
Prestige
features ever. Yeah.
of all time. But the movie that was number 1 before it was The Grudge 2, which really isn't that exciting at all. So
yeah, really, that was a shitty movie.
Yeah, no, I've never seen it, and I feel like I don't need to. But this movie made $53 million in the domestic box office, which is shocking because, again, we know Nolan to be someone that can take an R-rated 3-hour movie with a bunch of black and white that's just talking the whole time and make over $300 million. So this is Nolan back when he wasn't a household name, but he was just coming off of Batman Begins and about to make The Dark Knight. So this was in between Batman Begins and The Dark Knight.
I can't believe
we're going to be talking.
He went off in like a diverted path from like.
We're going to be talking about the movies he made in between the Batman movies, because he made Batman Begins, and then The Prestige, and then The Dark Knight. And then Inception, and then The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the in-between movies, and let me tell you, these are some damn good in-between movies right here. 2006 seemed to be a really big year for movies coming out about magicians. There was a movie called The Illusionist that came out with Edward Norton.
You'll love this,
and
Mitchell.
Paul Giamatti that year too.
Guess what movie Prime Video prompted me to watch right after?
It was The
Illusionist. They were like, they were like, you like 06 magician movies?
For a hot second, I was like, wait, is this a fucking sequel or something?
Here's another one. Yeah.
However,
same thing.
There's a 2006 magician movie that also stars Hugh Jackman and Scarlett Johansson. It's called Scoop, and it's directed by Woody Allen.
Well,
what?
So
apparently it wasn't very good, but I think that
were they trying to capitalize off The Prestige? Like, I don't.
No, it came out before The Prestige.
It's completely different movie.
Woody Allen plays a magician, and Scarlett Johansson is like a reporter or something. I never seen it, and apparently it's not very good, but it's just strange that there's a movie involving magicians that also stars these two people that also came out in 2006. And The Prestige, definitely the better of the two. This one's about Uh, Hugh Jackman plays Robert. Is it Angier? I
Angier,
saw this
yeah.
movie. Yeah,
Angier,
Angier.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw this movie 2 days ago. I know it's a little bit fresher for you guys because you watched it like today.
We
And
watched it
Christian
yesterday, so
and
One
Christian Bale is
a.m.
Alf.
today.
That still counts as today. Christian Bale is Alfred Borden, and they're two stage magicians, and they just kind of begin the perfect rivalry with each other after something goes wrong and Hugh Jackman's wife dies in the opening 10 minutes of the movie because there's a little bit of a squabble about, okay, what knot did you, because they're working with uh they're working with this other magician. They're both kind of assistants to this magician, and Christian Bale ties this knot, and Hugh Jackman's like, "Hey, don't tie that knot. Tie this one instead." And maybe he doesn't tie that knot the next time around, and they do the put the assistant in the little glass case of water, try to see her
in the
get out of
tank,
it,
yeah, in the tank.
and she drowns, she dies, and it begins an epic rivalry between Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman that goes back and forth to just, first of all, I gotta say that these guys have the best um the, the best costumers of
Yes.
the 1890s because they're
Yes.
always coming up with like
It's
fake
true.
mustaches and stuff to
I'm
try
not
to
gonna
like,
lie,
oh, you didn't know it was me.
those scenes in this movie actually made me chuckle a little bit because it was just, especially the first time it happened, you have that quick like, oh shit moment, but you're just like, what the fuck is going on?
It took me a while to realize that like the guy with like the fancy mustache was Christopher Bale's character. Like it took me a
Oh,
while to like
I did not
realize that.
picture that. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even like pick up on it until like the third time they showed him, and then I was like, oh, that's Chris Bale's like
Yeah.
character. He's just like fucking with people. They like
But
the mustache.
they also do something in this movie that they did in Inception, but they don't cut back to it as much as they do in The Prestige. Where at The Prestige, you see that Borden, Christian Bale's character, is on trial for murder. He's in prison for the murder of Hugh Jackman's character because he drowned in that same act.
Yep.
And so it kind of cuts back to that the whole time, and you're kind of seeing it spliced in. So you know from the beginning that these two have bad blood, and then you see it with uh, Scarlett Johansson comes in, and she's a kind of a magician's assistant that helps out both sides with things. I really liked Michael Caine in this,
All right, I gotta say,
and
does Christopher
Michael
Nolan have like a really close friendship with Michael Caine because he's in like every fucking Christopher
That's
Nolan.
fair. That's
Michael
so
Caine
true.
has been in every Christopher Nolan movie from Batman Begins to Tenet
Yeah, yeah.
in some way. Maybe it's a small way. Like in Dunkirk, he's just a voice.
I think he just thinks Michael Caine is like very good at
And
acting,
you know
and
what?
he is.
Michael Caine is good in every single Christopher Nolan movie he's
Right.
in. So and I think he
Um,
just retired from acting because Michael Caine's like 92. So
Yeah.
you know, let him rest a little bit.
I
But
just a cool fact, Mitchell, that Amazon Prime's like general trivia throughout. Albert Borden's character, his initials are Abra, because there's like a little bit like added on to his character. It's not just like Borden, it's like something something. So it's his initials are Abra. So
Okay.
so in case everyone wanted to, so yeah, there's a lot of like hidden references in there, and yeah, then they bring in like Tesla, which is David Bowie's character. And
I had
that's
no
really
idea that was
interesting.
David Bowie until after I finished
Oh,
watching.
same. I did
I
not
was like,
realize it was Bowie.
I was like,
as
he
we were
sounds
watching it.
familiar, but I have no idea why because he doesn't look familiar to me.
Then you're like, oh, that makes sense. He sounds like the guy singing.
Like what an
Ellie's
odd
singing.
like it was such an odd choice to throw in there.
No, it was. I do like the plot of Tesla's character inside of the movie, but yeah, it's a weird like twist.
he creates this device for Hugh Jackman's character because the whole time Hugh Jackman sees this act that Christian Bale is doing, and he is convinced there's no way
It's
that
real. I mean, it's
that it's
fake. It's fake.
that's fake. That he has to be that this there's something going on here, and he's got to find a way to one up it. So he wants Nikola Tesla to create this device for him. And David Bowie, no one said that Bowie was the only person he had in mind to play this role, and no one else could play it. And initially, Bowie turned it down, but no one flew out to New York to meet with Bowie. And after just a few minutes of meeting with him, Bowie took the part.
It was like, you're Tesla. You're
Yeah.
one of the greatest inventors of American history. Get it through your skull. I can't have anyone else play this role.
I've got to say, I also was really impressed with like Michael Caine's great in this. Huge. Christian Bale's worked with Nolan on the Batman movies, obviously, so they had a really good rapport. Hugh Jackman, I think that this was. It's funny watching him play a magician and a showman.
Yes.
With The Greatest Showman coming out years later, and that being more of something in Hugh Jackman's wheelhouse.
Musical, because that's like his background is like musical theater. Yeah.
Because Hugh Jackman in this movie, I think the casting for that was really good, because Hugh Jackman is the one of the two that maybe isn't as good at the magic itself, but is much more of a showman and knowing how to work the crowd and how to do that sort of thing. Whereas Christian Bale, there's a part where he's doing I think it's the bullet catch trick maybe, and he's just like, here's the trick, boom, I did it. Like, he has no idea how to like.
It was the
really sell it.
It was the rings.
Yeah.
The
he just had no emotion behind it. It was almost if it was a chore for him to do that.
Yeah, and same with like the trick.
But I like that because it was one of the kind of like lower tricks that he was doing. So he was almost like, I got to get this out of the way.
This is so boring.
And you know, boom, then I can do this, you know?
But even Michael Caine's character and Hugh Jackman's character are talking about like the teleporting man, and they're like, you can do that 1,000 times better than him. Like, you could sell it, like, just really play it up. Like, the audience doesn't even know what they saw. They're just like, oh, it was okay, it was cool, because he doesn't set it up. Like, Christian Bale's character like has no like gravitas or like any showmanship. Yeah, it doesn't have any panache.
And also adding on to the whole them having the best, costume designers of the 1800s, the best ability to come up with a stunt double that looks exactly like you.
Oh, that too. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they had someone that I'm convinced was just Hugh Jackman if they hit him in the face with a shovel and shrunk him an inch.
Right, and he just
just hey man, can you just drink for the next 3 hours straight, and then
I need
show
you to go
up
on stage real quick? Yeah, I need you to just go on stage.
Don't say anything, but just go out there, and that's what they do, and it's. And I love a movie that can accurately convince a good rivalry that feels.
I've never seen a rivalry so petty.
Yeah,
the only rivalry.
Another rivalry that's more petty than this. Like, it is the pettiest of pettiness.
It's very different than one of my favorite rivalry movies of all time is Rush. It's a racing movie that came out about 10, 11 years ago. But that movie there's a rivalry, but there's like a respect between the two.
Yeah,
and this is very different in that these two, there's no respect. There's no any of that.
It's funny because I think Hugh Jackman, like you can tell, like Hugh Jackman's character knows that he's a better showman, and Christian Bale's character knows he's a better like magician. So they're both like competing in like these different like spots where it's like, yeah, I'm clearly better at this one skill than you, and then they just go back and forth, and yeah, it's a lot of pettiness, and like Christian Bale's character like obviously dressing up and like messing up stuff, and then Hugh Jackman's character is like tailing him and like following around London.
Actors were very good at expressing those like kind of rage, pissed off emotions. Like,
that
Jackman obviously is infamously known for having that rage yell that he does.
He's like, how did he get away with this?
But you don't see Wolverine, No,
but,
it's good.
Even in the movie Prisoners, he does a phenomenal job at being just rage.
Yeah, love that movie.
Yeah. But Christian Bale kind of has that like pissed off, like disgusted kind of look to him.
It's more of a silence to him.
But like almost like, how is this guy like the number one act in England?
Yeah, but like
he can't perform magic the way I can.
Tension with just their facial expressions throughout the movie, and that really hooked me in. Because I really enjoy Hugh Jackman as an actor, and I love Christian Bale. So having the two of them in a movie was kind of just a win for me. That set me up for
Yeah.
really enjoying this movie.
Yeah, as soon as I saw both of those guys were like the leads, basically, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be a good movie."
But the
And yeah,
tagline of this movie, "What knot did you tie?" had me laughing every time. Like really, that's the thing you're gonna go for. That's how petty you're gonna be. Like you just shot a fucking bullet through his hand. What knot did you tie?
What do you guys
Yeah.
think about Scarlett Johansson here? I always find it's fascinating when Americans play Brits.
yeah.
Because
Well,
sometimes
she
you
pulled off
get
the
like,
accent. She pulled off the accent. For
I
that.
don't
is
think
there
she pulled it
sometimes
off.
like we didn't get to talk about it because just life happened in the middle of our Francis Ford Coppola binge, but I did watch Keanu Reeves and Bram Stoker's Dracula, and holy mother of God, that is the bottom of the barrel as far as Americans trying to do British accents.
Right.
I thought that she did a decent job, but it wasn't anything. It wasn't like Emma Stone where I'm like really impressed, but it's also not like it's not awful. I've seen
Oh, that's
Scarlett
what I
Johansson
meant. Is
do
that she pulled it off? Yeah, she did a good job.
I've
She
seen
pulled
Scarlett
off the
Johansson do really good accent work before, like in Don John when she's doing a Jersey accent. It's really good,
Yes.
but in this, it was serviceable.
Right. I think her character's interesting because obviously she's like the magician's assistant, but she keeps falling in love with like these two people because
Whoever she's with at the time.
right, she's clearly a vulnerable person, but it's like she's also super smart and she like knows she's falling in love with them and like she knows they're like kind of shitty people. And there is one scene where she's finally like Christian Bale's character. She's like, that's like the most inhumane, like coldest thing you could say to someone. Like, why would you like say that? And it was like, okay, now she finally like snapped out of this like, trance that she's in over this guy. And it's like, yeah, I thought her character added like depth to the story because you could tell she really played the emotions of like being hurt by both of them in different ways. Like,
I
yeah.
liked her better at the beginning. Well, I guess I liked her better when she was working with Hugh Jackman.
Sure.
Personally, I liked it better when she was just more kind of collaborating with him to work on tricks before she kind of got sucked into this whole thing with Christian Bale. But I didn't mind that either.
So I might have missed it, but did she know that Christian Bale was two different people?
No. I don't
Like
think
I mean, we're just gonna go ahead and dive
we're
into
just gonna spoil
spoilers, I guess.
everything.
Please. it's
No,
it's
but
like she was so manipulative the entire film, and I was just like,
I don't think so.
yeah, I don't think she knew. I think she like wholeheartedly thought
Was
that
there
was like the
anyone
same
that
person.
like hinted that they knew? Like even
No.
Michael Caine didn't.
Well, Michael Caine was like, it has to be a double. There's no other way to do the trick. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. So we're gonna do that. That's why he was like, "Hey, we're gonna do the same thing. I found this drunk asshole on the street. Let's do it." You
Yeah, I
know?
found this guy who looks exactly like you. Actually, is your
Yeah.
twin brother. You don't
We
know
can pay
anything
it.
about.
We can pay him in rum.
Yeah, it's like,
I definitely really I like that scene too when they kind of pulled the whole like he's learning. That cracked me up so much. Like he's like just known as the drunk, but all of a sudden it's like,
He's learned that he has leverage here, and that's
Black
not good.
Us. Yeah, the best
that whole
part is
discussion just cracked me
the
up.
best part
Like,
is
what
Michael
do we do
Caine's
with-
character. He's like, oh, he blackmailed us. Usually it takes people longer to figure that out. Like,
It was
he's
great.
like,
I love that scene.
I'm telling you, I think Michael Caine might have been my favorite person in this whole movie.
Yeah,
As much as I
love
liked
it.
Hugh Jackman and I liked Christian Bale, I think that Michael Caine kind of like, and his disgust with both parties at different times was the thing that, because there's a scene where Hugh Jackman is just obsessing over the machine that Tesla made.
Yes.
And
doing
Michael
exactly
Caine
what Tesla
told him not to do.
Yeah, warned you about. Yeah.
And Michael Caine is trying his very best to make sure that this machine is. Let's just go ahead and start talking spoilers at the end of the movie here. Okay, we'll go ahead and do that now. If you don't want to hear it, skip forward about 10 minutes or so, and we'll be But they think that because of the stuff at the beginning of the movie that they show, that Hugh Jackman's character drowned, he's dead. But he's been working this machine, so he's not. it's like creating a second version of
It's
himself that he has to
duplicating him.
kill.
It's basically Mickey 17.
up.
It's Mickey 17,
Yeah.
which I can't wait.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
But
Yeah.
it's
He has to
basically
kill
Mickey
himself
17.
every single night.
Yeah.
And he keeps talking about, like, what if I was the one that was in the box?
Right.
And he's not the one that
Well,
ends
he
up
wouldn't
in the
know.
box. Yeah.
Because
Well, that's true. He wouldn't know.
assuming the duplicates have the same memory.
The same memory? Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I don't know that.
No, I
wouldn't
think
think
that's
about
what
it
it
like
is.
that.
I
but
think that's what it is. I think you get the same memories and everything. Because Christian Bell
because the duplicate
talking
comes
about
out
how-
screaming like, no, like it's me, like don't shoot.
Right, because I think that's Christian Bell's. Like, while you say that there's two of them, it's a double. I think he used the same machine Tesla like gave him, and like that Christian Bell, like that duplicate, fell in love with this person,
Well,
and then his duplicate fell in love with Scarlett Johansson's character, and that's why.
I'm
I
trying
think it's two separate people with like two different life experiences, because instead of Christian Bell killing that guy, they just ended up being both of them at the same time, living in the same, this in the same universe together, which is dangerous, I would think.
So we're talking about the big twist now. We're talking about
Sure.
the part that they
That was a very simplistic way of putting the twist, but yeah.
Yes. And then Hugh Jackman ends up seeing Christian Bale after after Alfred Borden hangs. Right? He hangs for the death of the great Danton.
It turns out, oh no, there's two Alfred Bordens. Yeah.
Yep. And so they meet in this alley, and I love that Christian Bale says abracadabra right before he's about to hang. I mean, it's kind of corny, it's kind of cheesy, but I kind of like it. It works for me a lot.
Once you know that his name, like, initials are Abra, it's like funny.
But also, once you know kind of what he's pulling, it's kind of like
it's like a magic trick. It's like,
I'll give it to you there.
Bitches? Yeah.
But also the pettiness of him going through the long game plan of taking Christian Bale's daughter.
Oh, that was absurd.
Yeah.
Level.
Oh no, these people fucking hate each other. There's no respect.
He's petty. It's like Doctor Doom and I mean, it's like Doctor Doom being petty.
But it's also crazy. Like, imagine that you have this twin, right? And you're constantly like switching off, and your twin comes home and is like, I got 2 of my fingers shot off today. So guess what we're gonna have to do? We're cutting off 2 of your fingers.
Chop off 2 of your fingers.
The experiment stops for me there.
Well, speaking of that, there was a Netflix movie, What Happened to Monday. Did you ever watch that?
I've heard of it, but
I've heard
it wasn't good.
You would enjoy that movie. It's got a similar premise.
Oh, would enjoy it. Oh, okay.
I've heard bad things, but
I like it.
We like bullshit, so
that's true. No, but my whole thing is, I feel like it would stop at that point. I'd be like, actually, I'm taking a gun, and here you go. You're a
now these people are committed. They are committed. So
that's why I think they have this, like, the same memories until whatever happens. Yeah, because they have the same, like, passions, the same, like, oh yeah, we hate that guy as much as you do. Like, they both hated him equally, but they definitely had their own life path. You know what I mean? So.
But it was also nice to see, like, because this was my second time watching the movie. I saw it 10 years ago, so I remembered very little about it, except for the fact that I loved the movie and the twist at the end. So it was nice to watch it for the first time knowing that. And so when they, like, that scene where Rebecca Hall's kind of looking at his hand, like, oh, you're bleeding again. Like, it was like, I see what you're doing, movie.
Picked up on it now.
Yeah.
I will say,
there are certain scenes where I'm looking at Fallon and I'm like, I kind of see it a little bit. They try not to show him very much, to the point where now it feels obvious to me because of how much they try not to show his face. But
that it's him.
I could see, if you're not looking for it, that
apparently that's all of London. Like, apparently these people just can't tell who people are.
They're like, who the hell would be doing this? I'm not looking for that shit.
Yeah. They're like, oh, I guess these magicians, they must be okay. Like,
They keep running up on each other with disguises, and they're just like, oh, what the hell? Like, no
my
one ever
favorite
bothered.
my favorite
No
is
one's
the
like, hey,
bird
this
one.
man's been in this man's been in the fake beard shop 8 times this week.
Because yeah, exactly. Because Hugh Jackman's character also loses like a couple of fingers, or like gets his fingers cut, and it's like the bird trick where he's like, oh, I should have seen Alfred Borden's character, like I should have seen it with the crowd. It's like, oh, you wouldn't have known. It's like, what are we talking about? It's
Yeah,
literally like your
No,
rival.
he was face to face with you, and you didn't realize it was him.
Yeah, it's like you waited.
just try to pick people with different body types, maybe. Maybe
Yeah,
a really
I don't
short
know.
guy or fat
Maybe
dude.
pick a
like,
girl
see-
that won't be him.
yeah,
just
just
don't-
not Christian Bale. Like
It was
Christian
so
Bale's
funny.
dressed as Big Mama. Like that. That'd be the only thing that would really throw
Yeah,
him
it
off.
would have
but-
been master of disguise. Like just
Yeah.
start like making like
Fucking
random
Mrs.
stuff.
Doubtfire walking up there.
yeah.
exactly.
Hello.
Yeah, I
That,
just-
that would make for a terrible movie.
that
but
that had to be the funniest part of the
Interesting.
movie. Is like honestly, when that bird cage trick scene happened, I was like,
I think dead
Wait.
birds are funny.
well, no, I didn't think that was funny. I thought I was like, is that
You
Christian?
That part was
No,
funny.
no. What was funny is I was like, is that Christian Bale's character? And then it took me like another like scene to be like, oh shit, that's Christian Bale. Like that's been Christian Bale's character the whole time. Like I didn't even know as the audience member. So maybe I'm like not giving Hugh Jackman's character enough credit, but like at the end of the day, like the dude dresses up like that regularly and just like comes around and like fucks with your like acts. Like you think you'd eventually like pick up on it. I mean, I'm just gonna be honest, but yeah.
All right, so Tommy and Brandon, I know this is your first time watching it, but Brandon, you
Yeah.
have more of an experience with Christopher Nolan than Tommy does. So
Sure.
I'll ask you, does this feel like kind of an outlier as far as Christopher Nolan movies go? Because I'm so used to Christopher Nolan movies being just like these incredibly ambitious, just like big budget,
I think
sci-fi, massive
Yeah.
cast. And this
Right.
is a little bit more contained and a little bit like it's a $40 million budget movie. It's just a movie about dueling magicians. It's great. I love it, but it's not the same epic scale that we're used to seeing from Christopher Nolan.
I think it's odd that he did it in between Batman Begins and Dark Knight, because it's like this low key like budgeted film where I think this is just an idea he really liked, and he just like ran with it. And
Well, it's based on a
Wow.
book.
yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, everything's based on something.
Based on a book from 1995.
Interesting.
The idea of him being like right after he made Batman Begins, being like, this is my next film, like I'm just gonna do this, and it's gonna be low key, and it's gonna make X amount of money, and like I don't care. I think that's like more odd. It's definitely not anything like his other movies, like you mentioned, Mitchell. It's just not this big blockbuster, like big budget kind of sci-fi movie. It's just yeah, it's just this like almost biographical movie about two magicians, even though it's not like it's like historical fiction, I guess is the best way to put it. So yeah, it's just weird to me that he would like make this his next movie after Batman Begins. I think it's an interesting choice for like a next movie, because did he even have the idea of Inception like conceived
Oh,
at
yeah.
this point? He probably
No,
did.
The reason why he made this movie in between those two is because Christopher Nolan wasn't a household name at this point. He was
Sure.
some of the people that kept up with movies knew about, and
They were like,
Memento
"Oh, yeah, it's a good
and
movie."
Insomnia, and Batman Begins was considered to be a really good movie, but it really wasn't that financially successful because people still had to get over all the really awful Batman movies from the 90s. So Batman wasn't really commercially viable just yet. They had to make a really good movie to kind of serve as a palate cleanser.
And
Then the Dark
was-
Knight came out and just
Yeah.
took everyone's breath away, and anyone associated with that got a massive bump.
Mm.
Warner Brothers gave him the budget that he wanted for Inception, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and he needed the
So-
budget for Inception, to be honest.
Absolutely.
So it kind of makes sense that he picked this one as like his next one, but it just seems odd and like out of character. But maybe it's like just to show like, hey, I can make any type of movie, and I think that's what makes him like a good director. Is he knows what lane he's in, but he can also like come outside of that lane a little bit in order to make a really good movie outside of that lane. Because I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. Like I
Let's
mean, we
grade
can
it.
skip to reviews, but like
Yeah.
that was
Give
an
me a
awesome
grade.
movie. So this is just below Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for me on our PPA review. A 99.7.
Oh wow.
Damn.
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought it was
So
really
Okay.
good.
right at the cusp of A+.
Yeah, right at the cusp.
All right, Tommy.
I'm a 55. I really love this movie. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Okay, so I'm gonna be.
The Low Man.
I no, I get to be the high man on this
Oh, the
one.
high
I'm
man.
at I'm at an A+ with this. 29.14%, which comes in below Inglorious Bastards on our PPA reviews, but it comes in above comes above The Shining. So it's between those two. I really really enjoyed this movie, and I enjoy. It's also number 2 for me so far. I'm doing a whole bunch of rewatches from different years and stuff, and I do need to rewatch The Departed from 2006, but I do have this below V for Vendetta in 2006. That's one I do have
Well, that movie's a
above
classic.
this.
That movie's a classic.
I love V for Vendetta, so being below V for Vendetta is absolutely nothing to hang your head about. And this one is on the IMDb top 250, number 43.
It's
So
gonna stick
really,
around for a while, I think. Yeah.
really high on the IMDb top 240, I might add. It's above
How many
Django
Nolan
Unchained.
movies?
It's
I was
well
gonna say how many
deserved,
Nolan
though. That's very
movies
high up the
are.
list.
Yeah, that I mean the fact that it's above Django is all.
I wouldn't put it
said
above
about
Django, but
No, I wouldn't either. I mean, obviously didn't grade that way. But
how many Nolan movies are on the top 250?
yeah, how many Nolan movies are on the top 250?
We've
It's got to
got
be like all of them. If this was-
Mementos.
Yeah, I think all of them.
No, not all of them. Mementos on the top 250. Batman Begins, The Prestige, The Dark Knight, Inception, The Dark Knight Rises, Interstellar, and Oppenheimer. So that's 8.
Oh well, Tenet will
No
make its way.
No Tenet,
It'll
no
make its way.
Dunkirk, no Insomnia.
Tenet will
So-
make its way to the list at some point. People will realize the brilliance of Tenet.
People need to realize the greatness that is Tenet, and we will get to that. We will
Well,
get
you
to
guys
that.
will be the one to teach them.
Yeah,
But-
right. We'll be the ones to
right.
guide the way.
I may have
Come
just
here, my
handed out.
shepherd.
I may have just handed out an A+, but it's time to get fucking serious. This came out July 16th, 2010. Tommy, can you tell me what, or Tom or Brandon, either one of you two jackasses,
Hey,
can tell me what movie this dethroned at the top of the North American box office in the summer of 2010, which was a horrible summer for movies, by the way.
well,
I might
know
add, as
Harry
someone
Potter
going
was done
through
by then, so I'm
2010
not
movies.
going to guess Harry Potter.
Oh my gosh.
Harry Potter was not done by
Is
them,
it-
but that's not it.
Is it the bank robber movie that I haven't seen? The Town.
You haven't seen The Town? That's not
I
it, but
haven't. It's
you
not
haven't seen
The
The
Town?
Town?
I
I
haven't
Well,
haven't
seen
funny
The Town.
enough, I hadn't heard of The Town until I saw a trailer for it before Inception. That was the first
Interesting.
time I ever heard about The Town.
Then it's Shutter Island because Leo DiCaprio
No.
is also in
No,
it.
they wouldn't release 2 DiCaprio movies that close together.
Gosh,
No.
I don't know.
2010. I'm trying to think of what movies were even out in 2010.
I'll give
Yeah,
you a
I
hint.
just took a
Animated.
guess with To The Town.
Animated.
Is it like Shrek?
No, but I mean that came out in the summer of 2010.
Close.
Don't know. I really don't know.
It was the beginning of a
Animated movie.
franchise that is still around to this day.
It came out in 2010.
There was a new installment of it this summer too.
Ooh, How to Train Your Dragon? Was that
No, but that was earlier in 2010.
God damn it.
Nope.
Yeah, you got me.
You might just have
You-
to, yeah.
Despicable Me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Despicable
Despicable
Me.
Me.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay.
That
Yeah,
started
first-
in 2010?
Yeah,
God, I feel
Yep.
so old every time we talk about old.
Oh my gosh.
That came out a
I
week
feel
before
so
Inception.
old.
yeah.
I thought
I
Despicable
feel
Me started like 5 years ago. Like,
no.
I know
I
it
started
didn't.
14 years ago, my friends. Inception opened $62 million at the box office, which is just incredible for a movie that's not based on anything. That's just star power of DiCaprio and Nolan, and it made $292 million in North America, 839 worldwide on a
Jeez.
$160 million budget.
ROI,
That's a
baby.
success, my friends. And this movie won 4 Oscars.
Yeah.
This won for best cinematography, best sound editing, best sound mixing, and best visual effects. It was the first Nolan movie to ever be nominated for Best Picture, an award he'd finally win in 2024 for Oppenheimer. And on the IMDb Top 250, this is Nolan's second highest movie behind The Dark Knight. It's number 14 on the list. So this is a
Behind the
beloved
Dark Knight
movie.
That's
Behind the Dark Knight's number 3.
I mean, I get
The
it.
only
Dude.
movies higher
It's a great
are
movie.
Shawshank Redemption and Godfather. So this stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Ken Watanabe, Marion Cotillard. I promise that any slip up being done in this segment is not done out of hate. I'm trying to be as respectful and considerate as possible. Elliot Page, because it was Ellen Page when he made this movie, but now it's Elliot Page. I am probably going to slip up on that at some point. I promise it's not out of ill intent.
We are not haters.
Exactly. No. No, Elliot Page, fantastic in this movie.
Well, it's hard because when we grew up watching it was Ellen Page. Now we have to make the shift.
Yeah, and especially since the character in this movie is a female, it's kind of weird to get the wires crossed. But Tom Hardy, Cillian Murphy, Michael Caine, not a very big role in this movie, but he's still in it. And I remember going to see this movie. I started going to see movies in the summer of 2009. And I saw a trailer for this, and I'm like, I have no idea what the hell it's about, but I really dig the tone. I just think that it's going to be a cool movie to look at. It was the first DiCaprio movie I had ever seen. And fun fact, I was teasing this earlier with you, Tommy. We're going to do another guessing game. Who was supposed to play the role of Cobb in this? It was offered to 2 people before DiCaprio that both turned it down.
The hint you gave me, because the hint you gave me, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so the second person who was offered to is kind of becoming infamous for turning down roles they definitely should have taken.
Oh.
Tommy, what do you think it is?
Do you want to say it on 3?
Yeah, Brad 3, Pitt. 2, 1.
Brad Pitt.
Okay, what were you going to say, Brandon?
I was going to say the guy who turned down Avatar. Matt Damon.
No, that was Matt Damon, but no.
Oh, that's
Funny enough, Tommy. Wrong on the person I was thinking of, but Brad Pitt was the first person that they offered this to.
That makes sense, though.
So you're saying this role was passed up by multiple people?
Yes.
Yeah, it was 2.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. The other
I totally give Brad Pitt, though.
The other person who not only passed up this, but could have played Neo in The Matrix, could have played Django, that's Will Smith.
Oh, yeah, Will Smith. Yeah, that makes sense.
Will Smith has passed on so many roles that could have been amazing.
Interesting. Okay.
Will Smith has passed on so many roles that would have made him, like, that much more famous, and yet he still rose to the stardom that he got to.
Yeah.
Without ever playing those roles. It is wild to me. Like, that, I feel like that's how good of an actor he is. Like, he's passed upon these opportunities.
Who was originally supposed to play the role of Arthur? The guy that Joseph Gordon-Levitt played, but had to back out at the last minute due to scheduling conflicts.
That one I did know.
Is that Keanu?
That one I do know because I saw it back on that.
What?
It could have been Keanu.
No, James Franco.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, James Franco was. I actually think that would have been bad.
You mean James Franco from Now You See Me?
I can't see any sort of symmetry between Will Smith and James Franco if that was the actual cast that happened.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm like, no. The DiCaprio and JGL are on the same wavelength here. I just can't see Will Smith and James Franco doing that.
Why did Brad Pitt turn it down?
Did you see who was originally in line to play Elliot Page's character?
Who?
They had Evan Rachel Wood, who I would have liked.
Yeah.
Emily Blunt, Rachel McAdams, Carrie Mulligan, who I'm not sure that is, and Taylor Swift were all
Oh
considered.
no, I'm not a Taylor Swift hater for music, but she is a very bad
Well,
actress.
we really don't know if she would have pulled this role off. Then could she have like
No, because
catapulted herself into
this,
like
I
acting
think,
and fame?
no, because I saw her in Valentine's Day this year, and she sucks to high heaven at acting. But Elliot
Fair
Page
enough.
it's about an age range for this
Yes.
character. They need to be a little bit younger,
Well,
a little
granted,
bit more
you gotta remember,
bright-eyed and bushy-tailed to this
this
whole thing.
cast
I don't
within
think
10
Emily
years ago.
Blunt would have been a good role for that. As much as I like her,
I would have liked to see Evan Rachel Wood. She's a fun actress.
Evan Rachel Wood would have been really good in this. But
I think they nailed the casting for me. If I'm being honest,
let's get down.
Tom Hardy's
let's get-
character is.
Was this
Oh,
one of Tom
Tom
Hardy's
Hardy.
earlier roles?
This is
I
one of-
was so
yeah.
shocked it was Tom Hardy. I turned to Lindsay, my girlfriend.
This was
and
the
like,
first movie
"Is
I'd
that
ever seen Tom
And
Hardy
she was
in.
like, "What do you mean? Is that Tom Hardy?" She's like, "Of course it's Tom Hardy." I was like, "My fault." I was like, "I completely forgot he was in this movie." Oh, his character is awesome. By the way, I think his character.
Oh,
might
his
be the
character
best
is great in this. I'm gonna go ahead and get into this now. This might be my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah,
It's certainly in the conversation.
it's top 5.
I
for sure.
absolutely.
I'm going to piss you off even more.
Well, it just means that you're gonna get stabbed by the end of this review. But just kidding. We record this virtually, so stabbing is unfortunately not in the cards. This is actually my favorite Nolan movie as well.
Fair.
Which the fact that I'm saying it's one of my favorite all-time movies, but I have to really think about whether it's my favorite Nolan movie or not, just tells you the quality of movie and the quality of filmmaker that we're dealing with here. This movie is all about Leonardo DiCaprio. He plays Cobb, and he's an extractor.
It's all about a dream within a dream.
Yeah, that's what everyone was saying after this movie. It was dreams within dreams within dreams. He's an extractor who steals information by infiltrating the subconscious of his targets, offered to have a chance to have his criminal history erased and the opportunity to see his kids again as a reward for inception. Usually he does extraction, which is stealing information from someone's subconscious via the dreams. Inception is planting an idea there instead, and it's the head of this corporation, and he's like, look, I need our competition to go away. Something needs to happen with that, or they're gonna have a monopoly. We need this guy, Fisher, Robert Fisher. His dad's about to die, so we need to do this Inception and have him dissolve the company. And that's, if we do that, I have enough power and influence. I can get you back in the United States. You can be with your kids again. So, we're gonna go ahead and, hey, I was the subject of your last extraction. It didn't quite go very well. There was a mistake that your architect made, so we may or may not have killed him.
How could you forget the carpet?
Well, that guy at the that grabs him off the helicopter is the most angry looking human being I've ever seen in my life. Just picks this dude up out of the helicopter and,
what are you gonna do to him? Well, nothing.
Nothing.
But we can't promise they won't do something. I was like,
nothing. It's like, I'm not sure I buy that, but the beginning of the movie puts you just perfectly into what they're trying to do as you see the kind of relationship between DiCaprio and Marion Cotillard's character Maul, and you slowly get kind of drip fed information about what happened with her as the movie goes on. And it's so hard to talk about this movie without getting into spoilers. I do not know how much I can really do, because this movie has just kind of been a piece of my soul for the last 14 years now. It's been something that's just kind of always been around. And Nolan in this movie, I mean, I don't know if this is his best directed movie, but it might be my favorite directed movie of his, because some of the stuff he does in Oppenheimer and Interstellar is just like, holy shit, like untouchable type stuff. There's a scene involving Joseph Gordon-Levitt in a hallway, and that's all practical. I don't know if you knew that, Tommy.
I did not.
They created a rotating hallway and just kind of spun it, and that was all practical.
Hmm.
Because no one is, I don't want to say anti CGI, but
Well,
he's let's find a way to do it practically.
He knows not to overuse it, because that's where a lot of movies fail. Is they just rely so much on CGI, think it'll be cool.
yeah,
And
the only one that he
doesn't play
really
out.
like, obviously in this movie you have to CGI like the whole like
Yeah,
city like
cityscapes being
folding on
turned
itself.
around and that
Yeah.
type of thing.
There's a limit. They used it in the right tones where they needed to use it. There was no other way to do it.
And it's also CGI that 14 years later is really held up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it was
that's
great at the time, and it's still fantastic. So
we're
it's
talking about cinematography. The scene where he's like teaching her how to like basically architect dreams, and she's like folding the cityscape like over itself.
Yeah.
Like that scene is one of the coolest scenes in like all of cinema, in my opinion. Like I'm like, oh, it like looks legit. It does. It's not like just like, you know, one of those like, oh, this is CGI. Like it actually looks like it's legit CGI, which is awesome.
let
14
me ask you,
years later.
Tommy. Okay, I want to go ahead and get this out of the way. I don't think that you're as high on it as Brandon and I, because Brandon and I are both, well, me especially, Brandon not as much lately, are avid Letterboxd users.
Sorry.
And if you peek in our top 4, you will see Inception comfortably inserted
I have.
on that list.
I might move
What?
it, honestly. If there was a way I could like order it, like yeah.
I might. No, I'm not gonna make the stab joke a second time. But yeah, I would recommend not doing that. We're both huge fans of this movie. We recorded a podcast where we talked about our favorite movies of 2010, which I will be redoing after I finish rewatching all the 2010 movies. And Inception was comfortably number 1 for both of us. So, you know what we're about to do. Let me give you the floor to talk about what things you liked as someone that was seeing it for the first time, and what things you weren't as crazy about.
Okay, so first I'm going to set the tone of remember who I am. I'm a simple person.
Bitch.
No, I enjoy entertainment.
He's like, nope, no, I'm not.
But most of the time, I'm watching movies at like 11 to 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, 11 seems a bit early for you.
Yeah, well, it depends on the night. But watching a movie as complex as this at 1 o'clock in the morning when you're exhausted and you just really want to watch a movie, it's awesome movie to watch. But I was having such a hard time following it because I had to put like all my brain power into paying attention to what was going on. So cinematography wise, I love it. I fully agree. It's top notch. One of the best films cinematography wise. It was phenomenal. Story I thought was really unique and interesting. But again, it was hard to follow because it just was like if I zoned out for a couple minutes and tuned in, I'm like, oh, what the fuck did I just miss? And I had to rewind.
This isn't the movie you can do that with.
Well, that's why I had a hard time. I had to watch it twice.
This isn't a I'm gonna watch it and do other things type movie.
Well, that's the problem.
This is a lock in.
This was I watched it the first time around, graded it, and then I had to rewatch it again today.
Oh, okay. So you've seen it twice already.
Because I
commitment. I gotta give it to you.
Because that's the thing I do a lot of times now. Whereas if I watch a movie at night and I enjoyed it, but I just couldn't like key into it a lot, I'll watch it again just to get the full experience. But it was still hard to follow. Like it was just one of those like I don't know. For me, it was weird to follow. So that's where it dropped off for me grade wise. But everything else about it, I loved. The music, cinematography, the actors, the story, everything was great. It was just a little hard for me to follow. And that's where it dropped off a little bit. And it was a little predictable at times. Like I knew it was just like, all right, it's just gonna be another dreamscape where there's gonna be some twist. Like it was a little
predictable. You were like, oh, it's another dream. Like
I was like, all right, when are we gonna wake up in this dream? Who's gonna realize it's a dream? Like it was kind of the same thing over. It was Prestige a little bit too. You're like, all right, well, it's a new act. All right, who's gonna spoil it?
Christian Bale with the beard on.
Exactly. So it was.
Oh, look, it's Christian Bale again.
It's Christian Bale, the dream within a dream.
For me, I don't like movies and TV shows where they do the time loop aspect. So if it's something where it's the same thing over and over again, I get kind of bored of it. I'm like, all right, it's a little predictable.
I gotcha.
That's where I drop off in points. Everything else I loved.
All of these critiques sound like you could
Or
say the
valid.
exact same thing about Tenet.
So I
Oh
probably won't
yeah,
like Tenet as much either.
you might not like Tenet. I don't
Yeah,
know.
but
You might
again,
not be
that's
built.
just my
You might
that's
not
my
be
preference.
built for Tenet, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's it.
Most of the time, I put a movie on just kind of have dumb entertainment, which is why I love comedy movies. I love action movies because you don't have to follow the story. Whereas movies
Yeah,
with actual
this.
like good story, I need to be able to sit down and like full focus in to really enjoy it and appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
what got you with Dune too, but that's a thing for a different podcast.
Yeah,
So,
I have my other
um,
notes on that, but
but I I've noticed from personal experience and from a fiance that originally didn't like this movie either and now thinks that it might be her favorite movie of all time. It is a movie that builds with every time you see it. It is a movie that you
Mhm.
see it the first time and you like it this much, and then you see it the
I will
fifth
say
time
this definitely
and
won't
you're
be the
obsessed
last
with
time
it.
I watch it. I don't see the grade going up for me, but I definitely will enjoy it every time I watch it.
Hmm.
My top
And it
movie,
is something that stays in your mind.
yeah, my top movies are reserved for something that will probably never change.
No,
But
hey, it's also something that I recognize there are clear and obvious flaws with this movie. For example, the first half of the movie is nothing but explaining what's going to happen in the second half of the movie. It
yes,
is just setting up the rules for the dream, and so that you know kind of so that you're better able to follow along with things in the second half that once they start looking at that airplane, they're about to get on the airplane and begin this incredible journey into Robert Fisher's mind. Um, Everything before that is kind of getting familiar with the dream world and the rules.
Sure.
and
But I
Defense
was still fascinated with it.
that's where I'm
defense
still lost on the rules. But again, I'll have to keep watching.
defending that choice as a director and plot decision. Counterpoint, audience members are, not to be mean to anyone listening to this, and it's myself included. Audience members are too stupid
Yeah,
for
that's
you
me.
not to explain everything that's about to happen. I think in this case, this
Did that without
movie,
explaining things. It was called Tenet.
but that's my point. How many people hate that movie because he
Not one
didn't,
of them.
because he decided to not explain, and then people were like, "I don't get it," and it's like, okay, well, then he did the same thing in Inception, and people are gonna be like, "It's too slow." So like, which one is it? Like either, like if you want him to have this creative, unique, off the wall idea, you have to buy into. He has to let you explain it
You
because
know,
that's what will actually help you further enjoy it later on.
And that's why
In
you have
my
a
opinion,
character like Ariadne who's green to this whole thing, who's new to it, and
sure,
she's learning about it
and that's
through
why it works as a plot device.
DiCaprio's eyes. But also, it's not just that she's learning this stuff, it's that she's going deeper into DiCaprio's
she's good
mind
at it.
than anyone. She's
Oh
good
yeah,
at it, but she's going deeper into DiCaprio's mind and learning things about him that no one else knows that could be extremely damaging because of
And
his
honestly, that
whole
part I
thing with
really like.
Maul.
The whole last like 20, 30 minutes, I loved.
yeah.
Like,
That's a
Oh,
yeah. I
yeah.
mean, the ending
even
is
the first
awesome.
time when I had no idea what the fuck was going on,
Yeah, the ending's
I
awesome.
still had an idea what was going on at that point. I was like, oh, this shit's getting intense.
And this, I mean, he doesn't like full stop like explain it to you because there's still holes, there's still
Yeah,
little bits
and
and pieces that you
he
don't
kind of
know.
sets it up throughout the movie of like, hey, this is something that's gonna happen. You just don't know how or why.
But yeah, this has to be like my ninth or 10th watch or my eighth watch. I completely
I'm probably
missed.
around like 17, 18.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know what number I'm on, to be honest. Um, the point where she goes into Dom's like deep like
That
abyss, basically
elevator.
the limbo,
Yeah,
and she comes back out and she's like, okay, well, I have to be on that plane, or you have to tell Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character what's going on, and he actively made the decision, get another plane ticket. Like that to me signaled in my head. I completely missed that on like all the other rewatches, and I was like, oh shit, like he knows how bad this is, and if he shows Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, it's done. Like they're not doing this
A little bit
mission.
more experience. It's gonna be, hey,
Right.
we can't do this. There's too much going on.
Because
Can't do it.
his character would have picked up on the fact that they were going to limbo. The only other character that picked up on it was the chemist. The chemist was like, "Oh well, yeah, we were going to go into limbo. I trusted the guy," and he was like, "You trusted him? What the?" He's like pointing the gun at his head, like, "What are you doing? What are you talking about? We're gonna die." Yeah,
I think that I'm Christopher Nolan. Something he's so good with in every movie post Dark Knight for me personally, and this is why I feel like The Prestige is like a separate thing from a
yeah.
lot of other Nolan movies. The music in that movie was really good. But every other Nolan movie, you leave thinking about the music.
Well,
Whether it's Hans Zimmer or Ludwig Göransson, you leave a Nolan movie post 2008 thinking about the music. And Hans Zimmer in this, look, I
it's in his
loved this.
bag. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's in his bag.
I loved the score for The Social Network. It is an all-time great score. And if you're going to lose at the Oscars to anybody, losing to Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross for The Social Network is a good loss. But my vote would have gone to Hans Zimmer for Inception because the music in this movie, and it's not just, I know it's been memed to death and like, yeah, I get it, but also it's great. The whole like bah, and all the really
Yeah.
loud
The
stuff from the score. It is it is great, and it's a separate character in this movie just about. But like the more tender moments of the music, especially at the very end of the movie, like I'm not gonna lie, this movie gets me to tears every single time within the last 5 minutes because of the music and because I care about what happens to Leonardo DiCaprio's character. I want him not just to get back to his kids, but I want him to figure out this whole thing with Maul. And I want him to get past that because a big theme of this movie is learning to forgive yourself and move on from things. And that plays a huge role in this movie. And so people like to come at Nolan, especially before Oppenheimer, and say that his movies lack emotion
Mm.
and that you don't feel for the characters. One, I will say clearly you did not see Interstellar because that movie has emotion in
Yeah.
buckets.
You mean
And
when the character is literally banging on the glass, screaming and
no,
crying?
yeah.
It's not
So
emotional enough for people?
yeah.
Well, and in
But
the
second,
Prestige, there was so much emotion in that. Granted, it was more
No, I
anger
agree.
and tense emotions rather than happy and sad. But
yeah,
Agreed.
I'd argue The
100%
Dark Knight
agree.
as well. But this movie, I am rooting so hard for Leonardo DiCaprio's character because you see everything. You see, and I'm gonna kind of get into spoilers here. I think that we can start talking about some of the stuff.
Yeah.
So the first half of the movie is explanation. The second half is, hey, we're going on this dream within a dream, and then crazy things start happening. There's a train going down the middle of the road. My favorite, well, I can say that about basically every scene in this movie, but I love the scene where DiCaprio, that limo or that taxi driver, is like asshole and walks up to his car, and DiCaprio's just like walk away, and then you just see him walking down the street. I think that's that's funny without really trying to be funny.
I did
great. You've got great, well, the cinematography on any of the chases, anything involving a car was really well done. There's a bunch of car chases. There's just excellently shot stuff in the rain. Anything with in that hotel was just, oh my gosh. Joseph Gordon-Levitt became an action star when this came out.
Yes.
Because of that scene in the hotel in the hallway is one of my favorite scenes in movie history, if I'm going to be honest. And the fact that they did it practically just adds to the mystique of Christopher Nolan. The Penrose steps where he just throws that guy off the staircase.
Yep.
One of my favorite scenes as well. But going deeper into DiCaprio and what happened with Maul and how you see that they were in limbo and he wanted to get out of limbo, because she had just kind of more or less kind of condemned herself to, this is my reality, this is where I'm going to be,
Yep.
and just kind of was resigned to that fact. And DiCaprio performed Inception on her, but it ended up not working the way that it was intended to, where instead, when they got back to the real world, she thought that limbo was the real world. And so he was responsible for that idea, but the intentions were the opposite. And it's incredibly heartbreaking. Like the scene with her jumping out of the hotel window is just iconic as far as I'm concerned. DiCaprio's maybe the best actor we have right now. I certainly love the guy, and he brings his A game here. I really wish that him and Nolan would work together again.
It gave me a lot of similar feels to Shutter Island. The Shutter Island.
Yes. Yeah. No, he loves making movies about dead wives.
Yes.
Both Nolan and DiCaprio. Yeah.
You talking about Andy Dufresne? No, I'm just kidding. That was good.
Nolan and DiCaprio, neither one of them are in that one.
No, I was making a joke about one of my other favorite movies where a dead wife is involved.
Oh, so you like movies about dead wives?
No,
so.
I don't. But I mean, I guess I do technically.
All right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and just send a police officer over to Lindsay and make sure she's okay.
Okay.
I'm trying to make a great movie here.
I'm just saying my top 3 movies might have dead wives in it, is what I was getting at. Which is...
Hey, it's a great subgenre, I guess.
Yeah.
Taking some notes at work.
but oh yeah, no. Tommy's like, yeah, it makes for a busy day at the office too. But I love how we get to see more of the DiCaprio mall situation, and then as we get further into Limbo, it gets me. I'm emotionally invested in it, and I care about what happens. It's not just a cool sci-fi action movie, which it absolutely is. It's a great heist movie, and they're not even stealing anything. So think about how good you have to be able to do that, because it's a heist movie where there's no defined thing to steal. That's usually like the point of a heist movie, you know? It's we have to steal this jewel, or we have to steal this amount of money, or whatever the case. They don't have a thing to steal. They're actually putting something somewhere. And I thought that it was done in a way that, yeah, the first time around it's going to be difficult to follow. Especially I was 16 when I saw it the first time. My dumbass did not understand what was going on at all.
That's my whole point with it, is like he has to explain it, because you would not understand it if he didn't. I mean,
but to quote another Nolan movie that too many dumb people didn't understand. Don't try to understand it, feel it. And I gotta tell you, even at 16 years old, not quite understanding everything that was going on, this movie changed the way that I watched movies, because I used to sit all the way in the back, right?
Oh.
I used to sit all the way, and this was 2010, so it was before everywhere had, like, you pick your seats before you go to the movie. You just showed up and sat wherever, right?
What chaos we used to live in.
So,
I know,
yeah.
right?
So I was sitting in the very back, and I was so sucked in and invested to this movie
that you got up and moved forward a couple rows.
That I got up and I moved to the middle of the auditorium. I went from the very back to the middle of the auditorium. It was about maybe 60-70% full for this.
If I was like a person, like you just randomly sat in the middle next to me,
no.
Like,
I wasn't.
This guy been?
I wasn't sitting next to me. I
found like, sir, this is not the kind of movie where we do this.
We just
I had some space. I had some space. But I was like, hold on, I need to move in closer. I need to get a better vantage point on this thing, and I've never done that with a movie before. Usually because I'm not a dumbass that sits in the very back.
Bro. I don't like people behind me.
Yeah, that's true.
See, I like sitting
all the time.
I like sitting closer to the front.
No, I'm sure people think I'm crazy. I sit if I'm the only person in the theater slash like 5 people in it, I sit in the first seat right next to the entrance.
Back row.
Yeah, I kind
And
of understand that.
I will
But I used to sit back row, back left like a psychopath.
always
Where,
back
you know,
left.
you
That's
could
the way to
see
do it.
everybody in front of
Well,
you.
I did back right.
Occupational
but-
hazard makes me, and paranoia always makes me sit in the back row.
Yeah, fair. But now my occupational hazard is I'll sit very front. So if someone comes in or like if something happens, like I'm right there. But I mean, that's probably not the best. Now that I'm thinking about it in my head, I'm like, that's probably not the best way of going about it. But whatever. I also just like watching the movie at an angle. But that's just again me. I don't like sitting in the middle of theaters. I like watching
I don't
at
like
an
sitting in the
angle.
middle of theaters anymore, just because if you're on
It's a very
one
technical
side,
thing on my part.
well, if you're on one side, you only have to worry about the people like in your direct vicinity being on their phone. Whereas if you sit in the middle, anyone on either side is gonna piss you off if they're on their
Yep.
phone.
Right, and it could just be
So-
like someone looks at their phone to see how much time is on
Well,
it.
see,
or
for me, the other
time
thing is
on
if
it,
you
or
sit
Or
in
like
the
when we went to go see Barbie and we had that asshole that was on their phone the entire time.
Well, yeah, that was.
So there's two
absurd,
downsides.
but
The one thing for me is sitting in the back row. If people are
you
talking,
see everything.
the sound carries forward, so you usually don't hear the
Oh,
people, but you see the phone lights. So it's a trade-off. But I'd
Mm.
rather not have to hear people. But another hot take: I don't like going to IMAX theaters because I feel like the screen's too big that I'm constantly looking around.
oh, that's fair. I kind
I
of get
do-
it. I'd rather watch
I do
Dolby
not
over
agree,
IMAX
and
now.
Christopher Nolan would be very upset with you because
I know he
IMAX
would.
is his baby.
Oh, I
No, Christopher Nolan should adopt Dolby as his method of.
Hey, I like both, but I think I'm gonna be an IMAX kid forever. Even when I'm 97, still
I
calling myself
saw-
an IMAX kid.
Speaking of my last IMAX film, I saw The Lighthouse in IMAX, and that movie had no business being on an IMAX screen.
my
Because
last
it's
That
IMAX
doesn't really
was
seem like an
Avengers
IMAX
because
movie.
it's
War.
because if you've seen that
Oh
movie,
wow,
Tommy,
that's a long time ago.
it's oh yeah, God of War, yeah, that's fair. Is that
Infinity
what you
War,
said?
not God
Oh,
of War.
Infinity War. Sorry,
God of War is
God
a
of
video
War.
game,
That's,
sir.
God of
that's
War
not
is a
movie.
video game. I was like, did they make God of War as a video game movie? I was like, that I did not see that.
Although I'm
No, but,
surprised they haven't, but yeah.
Basically, The Lighthouse is like it's shot in like a smaller like frame or whatever. So like it really makes no sense for it to be on IMAX. It like absolutely makes no sense.
Do you know what my last IMAX movie was?
Venom,
No.
Joker.
Yeah, Joker 2, which was
Yeah.
awful.
Oh, why would you choose to see that?
So I saw it in IMAX too. Yeah, I saw it in IMAX. Too.
Yeah.
It wasn't worth
be
it.
a bad movie before it even came out.
That's fair, but it wasn't
Why would
worth
you
it.
spend extra to go see it on IMAX?
Well, we have A-list, so
Oh,
Yeah. We're better
Yeah.
than you.
yeah,
you
we're
are.
better than you.
You
Be like
hey,
a
hey,
Ultron
no.
fan.
You could have AMC A-list too.
I have my couch and a TV.
I was gonna say you also have you don't need A-list, you have a child, so
I have
that's
a
something
2-year-old
that
that
yeah.
Our TV is usually playing Encanto, Frozen, Luca, or another Disney animated film.
Those are
God,
great
out of all the
movies.
Disney movies, Encanto and Frozen, like pick a good
What's
one.
wrong
please.
with Encanto?
She loves them.
It's that meme that says like at last pure mid. That's Encanto.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
That's Encanto. But let's get
Wow.
back to talking about one of the greatest movies of all time, people. We're talking about Inception. Tommy, okay, this is the first time that you've seen it, or I guess you've seen it twice now. Did the top fall?
I don't know.
That's not an answer. You gotta pick one.
Did the top fall?
Yeah.
So the top is wobbling at the end. If it falls, that means it's
See, that's
not
the
a
part that
dream.
fucked with my head. I didn't understand what was
That
going
means
on.
it's a dream. If it falls, that means it's a dream.
So
if
I
it's
knew there was
spinning,
some.
then-
That means it's
I
a
knew there
dream.
was some significance.
Yeah,
to why
sorry.
they
Yeah.
zoomed in on it.
So if the top keeps spinning, it's a dream.
See,
it falls, it's
you gotta watch it. You gotta watch it again because they
I'm
explain
gonna have
this.
to. I'm gonna
Yeah,
have to.
he
Maul
explained-
built a
he-
top that only spins.
So
like
I
that.
had
It's
a-
the totem.
I
Yeah,
kind of had a
totally.
feeling that at the end they were alluding to the fact that he was still in a dream. But then I was just like, well, how the fuck is he still in a dream if he basically destroyed his whole dream world? Isn't that kind of
Hmm.
what happened? Didn't weren't they alluding
That
to?
wasn't his dream though. That was Fisher's.
It
Ugh.
was his limbo
See, I don't
inside
like
of
these kind of
Fisher.
movies. They fuck with my head, and I'm like, I don't like it. Uh,
Basically, you have
I
to
I
decide:
think I
was it a
think that
dream or was it not?
I
Is what
think
you're
that it
asking.
fell. I think that it fell.
You think he's trapped?
Yeah,
so all
and
right,
the thing,
so
no one won't tell anybody because, like, as Bale said in The Prestige, once you give away your trick, there's no use for you. So you
that's
never give
fair, but
away. You
also
never
it
give it away.
it also secures the concept if he ever wanted to make a sequel, he could.
I I will tell you this right now. If they ever were to make Inception 2 and it was directed by Christopher Nolan and he said this is an idea that I was like really passionate about, it would instantly become my most anticipated movie of all time. Under any other circumstances, leave it the fuck alone. I
Yeah.
don't want them to
Well,
make
that's what I'm saying. He's not a
anything else.
sequel kind of guy, so I don't think it. That's why I think it wasn't a dream and the movie was over.
No.
Fair. So you think it's like completely real, like he's outside of the dream and like it's over,
Yeah.
like it's done,
I
like
think
there
I
is
think
no.
so.
Yeah. In terms of endings with cliffhangers, it's this and The Sopranos as like the two like cliffhanger endings, basically for me personally. Um,
Yeah, I
I
but that's a different conversation for a
Well,
different.
yeah, it's a completely different conversation because it's a movie. Like this is a movie, and
Wait,
like
what
that's
did
a
you say?
series. The Sopranos is like the only other cliffhanger ending where I could think of like, wow, they really fucked with people because you can have one opinion and you could be right, and then you listen to someone
Oh,
else and you're
okay.
like, oh, that's
Because I was
actually a
gonna
good
say
opinion.
we had a recent really fantastic movie with a cliffhanger ending.
I feel like there's a lot of them that I
In
just missed.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
that didn't really have like it, but that was also
But see,
But
a
that was
we
the
part
know there's
one
thing.
going
that
to be
wasn't
a third.
advertised as a part
We
one.
Yeah, we know
Yeah,
there's going to be a third movie. Like that's where I'm like with Sopranos, you don't know if he's dead or alive. Same with this, you don't know if it's a dream or not. I am under the opinion that the top falls over and he is not. Sorry, it keeps spinning and he is in it, still in the dream. I think he never got out, personally.
part of me thinks that is true because of of how they showed the kids.
Right, I think there's
Instead of
something
that
off with the
same
kids,
pose,
to be
and the fact
honest.
that they haven't fucking aged. Also, from the
Mm,
last time he's seen them, I don't know how long of a time
ooh.
gap it's been since he's seen them, but the fact that they haven't aged, I was
So if we actually physically think about like the rules that Nolan gave us, 10 years is what Mitchell. How many? An hour is 5 minutes. So 10 years
Yeah,
in the in Dream World is however many,
a long time.
a long time, and he was in the Dream World with Maul for 50 years.
Yeah, that would
So
be forever.
I'm so to go back to your point, Tommy.
okay.
I think it has to be a dream because, to your point, the kids like really haven't aged that much. Like they might have
Yeah,
aged like maybe 1 or 2
I
years,
forgot that
three
they were in
years.
there for that long. So yeah, that
Yeah, so they're in there forever. Like
He's
it's
still in
it.
the dream then.
Yeah, so he has to be in the dream, in my opinion. But you could also argue that like maybe the world like stopped while he was in the dream, which is also like a rule that was like given, was like time technically can stop while you're in limbo. So, because you could
Also,
argue that Kenta Watanabe's character Mitchell had that happen too, right? Like he's in
yeah.
there, he's in limbo for 60
Oh
years, and
yeah, no,
he's like,
he's
yeah,
again. You see him at the beginning of the movie, and you don't know what that's kind of referring to, and then it cuts, and they're
Okay.
young
he's an
men.
old man. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um,
All right,
I
Mitchell, you
didn't.
sold it on me.
I
I'll watch it a third time.
Yes. Um, I didn't realize that these two had similarities until I saw A Nightmare on Elm Street
Oh, Freddy.
last
Yeah.
month, and that there's like some like a germ of that in this, which is funny because that movie came out 40 years ago today. So,
Mm.
yeah, 1984.
Speaking of which, there will be a sequel to Nightmare on Elm Street that I think you might enjoy.
Dream Warriors.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I've heard good things about that one.
yeah. So,
Interesting.
spoiler, that
Tommy,
might be on our thing for next year.
Tommy, go ahead and I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna hate on you too much because
My grade will change over time. I can guarantee you.
The first, you're just beginning to
my first
experience the Inception.
Even after the second watch around, I would say I'm going to give it a B 60%.
Not a B plus.
Not a B plus. Just B 60%.
Okay. I'm not
was
raging
like-
at all.
That was like getting shot by a bullet.
That'd be like if you just came to my house and punched my dog in the face.
And then shoved this cactus up your ass because that's what you really want.
All right, Brandon. Let's move on from that shit. Brandon, what was your grade on this motion picture?
Mitchell, I want your grade first. 'cause
Okay.
Mine is
100.
incredibly high.
Okay, so we got an A plus, and the Shawshank Redemption got an A plus 97.31, which was the high for this show going in.
It's the high of everything, right?
So
On your
I
new
give
scale.
Inception an A plus 99.49.
Oh my gosh, Mitchell.
I love this movie so much. I love how challenging it is. I love all of the performances. I love everything from a technical standpoint. Hans Zimmer, you're a mad son of a bitch, and Christopher Nolan, I bow at the altar before you.
Yeah, I can't even argue with it because mine would be I gave Shawshank A plus 98.9. I'm going A plus 98.1.
Okay, that's fair.
So
Hey,
this is my second
that's
favorite
fair.
movie of all time. I think if I rewatch Good Will Hunting on the scale, it's going to be around the 96 to 98 A plus.
That's fascinating because I actually watched that movie recently, and that was an A plus 57.19 for me.
Wow, you hater! You hater.
Yeah, hater. That's a great word for it.
It's in like the 5% of movies I've watched them all time, but I'm a hater.
It's like top like 2, and I love that movie so much. But nah, I'm a hater.
Yeah.
But I honestly, I get it.
I love this movie. Like, my brother did. I think he did like an 8-page like research paper on it for Psych or for AP Psych or whatever, and like broke down the ending and like broke down all this stuff. And he was like, "It's like a mind trip and stuff."
I had to write a 14-page
awesome.
paper for my minor. I was a film minor in college, and I wrote a 14-page.
Really? I'm not.
I had to write a 14-page paper, and I wrote it about Christopher Nolan. So
yeah,
I'm very passionate about Christopher Nolan movies.
I think
That was a very sticky paper when you turned it in.
No, it was because my professor was spitting on it, because my professor's like all into like incredibly artsy movies, and here I am writing about Inception and The Dark Knight and Interstellar, and they're like, "Why aren't you writing about Francois Truffaut?" And I'm like, "Because every other fucker in this class is doing that."
Yeah, good point. You should have wrote about Coppola. You should have wrote about the Godfather trilogy.
Yeah, you write about your personal Jesus, and I'll write about mine. Leave me alone. Give me this B minus that you know deserves an A, and just be gone.
That reminds me, Mitchell. Now that I've seen The Lighthouse, Robert Eggers is starting to like creep up my like director's list.
Because The Northman was something else, and I can't wait for Nosferatu. I vote to change things a little bit here.
Okay.
Now, Tommy and Brandon, you two can override me. Okay, I'm just one man, right? I'm just the low bitch on the totem pole.
Yes, I'm glad you know your place.
The totem pole. Thank you. What a great reference.
We have talked about Interstellar and Tenet a lot on this podcast.
I see where you're going,
and we've never reviewed it.
I will allow this change.
I vote for us to do in about a week and a half, come back and reunite to review Interstellar and to review Tenet.
That way,
you don't have to pull my arm to watch Tenet. You know what I mean? Like, I'll watch that movie like tonight.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, I was watching Tenet like a week
Now,
ago.
granted, you probably have to watch it with the captions on because they didn't sound mix that
Yeah,
movie
yeah,
at all.
yeah. No, that's Tommy. That's
That's
a
a
very
requirement.
important bit of Tenet.
That's a
If you-
requirement. You have to watch it with captions on. And
Yeah.
I usually do because
that's not me
I
hating.
watch it-
Same. When I watch movies at home, I watch it with captions on. But I wanted to make it fully aware. They did not mix that movie well
I used
at
to
all.
hate captions, but now I love them for two
Oh,
reasons.
same.
One,
You can eat food while
if
watching.
I'm watching a movie with my daughter around, she's usually very loud
Mhm.
and we're doing stuff. So if I can at least read while we're doing stuff,
Glance up, yeah.
it's not as big of a deal. And then also when I watch movies late at night, I don't wake anybody up with the sound, so I keep it low and I can read what's going on.
Should
See,
get yourself some headphones.
I like the
What are they-
subtitles for the exact same reason I was talking about with Tommy before about the totem stuff. I feel like when I have the words on the screen, I'm better able to keep track of small details of the plot
Yes.
like that. And so when they refer back to things in the movie, it's like I realized I was having that issue a lot with like characters, right? And maybe like, well, Wallace did this. I'm like, who the hell's Wallace? And it's like, oh, well,
Right,
Wallace was that
I have that
person
same
that's been on
problem
screen
too.
for 15 minutes.
Right.
And I think that this kind of helps me with that a little bit. Now, maybe that's a problem with me as a viewer, but it also, I think, I've just enjoyed that experience. And I've been team subtitles for about 2 years now.
Yeah, I'm team subtitles at home in the theater.
Because I made fun of you for it. I remember, Brandon, the first time that I saw you do that.
8 years, you know?
I was like, Brandon, what, can you not hear? Like, why do you have subtitles?
I've done the same thing because my brother got into subtitles before I did. So like I would always like log into my Netflix because of course we shared accounts because he was too cheap to use his own.
You gotta get profile.
So I let him use all my accounts. And every time I log in, the fucking subtitles were on. I'm like, why the fucking subtitles? Oh, I like watching them. Like, why? I was like, now I have to turn them off every single time I turn this on.
Or like a show like Peaky Blinders, like it's a requirement to have
Yeah.
captions on.
But I
You
mean,
have to
Peaky
have
Blinders, they
subtitles
might
on.
as well be speaking another language. It's like, it's English, but is it really though? Yeah.
Right.
And Tenet is like basically there's a good chunk of that movie where it just kind of sounds like this. Like it's almost like Bane.
That's fair. I don't think they sound mixed it that well, but I also
The
think
music
like
is also like on like a
Yeah.
14 out of 10, and
I also think
it's like a 7 out of 10 for the dialogue. So you're really straining to hear it. But I
I'm
kind
not
of like
gonna-
that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not gonna like rip the sound mixer because I think Nolan told him like I want
a
you
choice.
to drown out the sound because we're talking over mask. We're talking in this setting.
If
I
there's
want you to drown it out.
If there's one sentence that I think, and we are wrapping up here, if there's one sentence that I think can best describe Christopher Nolan's style, I guess, and this can be
a story inside a story,
and this can be used as a detriment if you don't like his movies, and it can be used as a positive if you hold them close and think they're very special and they mean something to you. Don't try to understand it, feel it. And if you can feel the Christopher Nolan's movies through the music and through the visual storytelling and through the characters, but you're not trying to understand all the tiny minutia, I think you're gonna like movies a lot more. And I totally understand if that's something you can't get past.
I think we just found the slogan to our podcast.
Don't understand it, just feel it.
If you feel it, chase it.
That's Glenn Powell. That's which hey, he's in Dark Knight Rises, but yeah.
Sorry.
All right.
That was just funny.
Well, that's gonna wrap things up for this podcast. Again, Noah November off to a hot start with The Prestige and Inception. Very hot start. Global warming, people. We'll be back with Interstellar and Tenet. Can't wait for that one. For Tommy Grant and Brandon too, I'm Mitchell Lee. Thanks for listening, and hope that you watch these two movies, because if you haven't already, what have you been doing?